This meeting is called to order. Stella, if you please read the call.
Notice of public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a special meeting on Tuesday, August the 8th, 2006, at 6 p.m. in City Commission chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas.
Everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
I'd like to please ask Bob Clark to lead us in the invocation. By the way, today is Mr. Clark's 80th birthday, 80 years young. Congratulations, Bob.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Father God, we come before you this evening, knowing that the summer is just about over for the young people of the city of Brownsville. So tonight I would like to pray for BISD. I'd like to pray for the acting superintendent, administrators, principals, teachers, nurses, cafeteria workers, and particularly the students. We thank you for the safe summer that they've had and the good times that they've had. But now we pray for them going back to school. We pray that our drivers here in Brownsville will be extra cautious in their driving near the schools. We ask you, Lord, to protect them. Keep angels around these young people, because they are the future leaders. They're future mayors and commissioners out there right now going to these public schools. So we ask for their divine protection. And Lord, for this special meeting tonight, I lift up all of the department heads. I lift up Pete Gonzalez. I ask you, Lord, to guide him in his thinking about all the different things that the city has to take up. And for the year 2007, we ask that you guide the budget, the direction of the budget, the safety of every part of the budget, that it will be more than enough. Lord, you are a Lord of more than enough. So we just ask that the funds will be there for all the programs to help all the people. And for this, we thank you. I ask also for extra guidance and direction for our commission and for our mayor, for our city manager, for all the heads of the departments. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Okay, the presentation is tabled until the next meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, item 2.
Item 2, consent agenda items A through C.
So move.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Item 3, consideration and action to appoint one new member to the Brownsville Border Film Advisory Commission.
Mayor, Commissioners, regrettably, Patrick Rodriguez has had to resign from the Film Commission. I have a letter from Patrick saying that he had enjoyed it very much, and thanks everybody for the opportunity of having served. Patrick was one of Commissioner Arroyo's appointments, so this would be fall on Commissioner Arroyo to replace Patrick.
Do you have an appointment, Commissioner?
Thank you very much. I would like to appoint Maria G. Gomez. She is with the University of Texas of Houston School of Public Health, and she's here today and comes with a brilliant resume and a lot of work, past work with Cinesol and present work with Cinesol, and she'll be a fine member.
Excellent. We have a motion, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 4, public hearing to discuss the city's proposed fiscal year 2007 budget.
Move.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this is a continuation from last week. It's regarding the budget, public hearing on the budget. As we mentioned to you last week, there are some important dates that are coming upon us, and that's for the upcoming approval of the budget. And the next important dates that we have are the 18th of September, and then we have another meeting. The 18th is where we go ahead and ask you to set certain dates for public hearings to go over the tax that we are going to be proposing to you. And those are, we are required to have two public hearings, and that's on the 29th and also on September the 5th. And then, of course, later on, the budget gets approved in September. So far, we've worked on the budget, and the information that has been handed to you has approximately, and not everything is included here, but the majority of this is included in here, which includes the first page, for instance, shows the total revenue budget for the year, 116 million. The majority of that being in the general fund, followed by debt service. Airport has a substantial increase in the revenues, and that's because of some assets that the airport plans to sell during the year, and that's the reason why we have a huge increase in as far as revenues. On page 2 shows you the overall expenditures for the coming year 2007, and as far as expenses, we're around a little over $110 million. Now, we still haven't included some of the capital grants, capital expenditures that the public transit will be incurring. That has not been added in this list, so we know for sure that it's going to be over $110 million. As far as we will go over the calculations of the tax rate, based on all the needs that the city has, we really want to have the same tax rate as we have this year, the 68 cents. We have met with the mayor, and he has indicated to us that he definitely, or as far as I think most of you agree, that you do not want the 68 cents, but rather you want a lower tax rate. I will go over some of the calculations later on in later items, but right now, based on some of the recommendations that have been made to us, we will be probably based on the numbers that we come about, maybe reduce it by 3 cents. Page 3, it shows the valuation, the assessments. How much did it grow? It grew by about almost 16%, 15.77% of the appraisal roll.
Pete, you've got 2005, 2005. The second one should be 2006, right?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, that's incorrect. Page 4 shows you the tax rates, the effective rate of 60.2788, which I will cover later at other item in the agenda. But this, as far as the rate over the effective rate, you're looking at a 7.87%, because this budget is set at 65 cents. Again, we were hoping to get a 68 cents, but it looks like it's going to be 65 based on some of the requests that have come from the mayor and the commission to reduce the tax rate. Or from prior meetings where you have indicated that you would like to have a lower tax rate. That is not our recommendation as far as staff, but we'll go along with it. Page 5 just shows you the total levy for the year, and you're looking at a $30 million levy, $30.7 million in tax levies. Page 6 just shows you a comparison between fiscal year 2006 and 2007, and it shows there's a growth of around 2.8 million. Page 7 again shows that increase 2.8 million. Page 8, this is the general fund. This is the way the general fund looks right now. We're still not in balance. We have about a $293,000 shortfall. There are obviously a lot of requests that have come in from various departments that are not part of this budget. As you recall, last week we introduced you for all the requests that the departments had made that unfortunately they're not being funded because of lack of revenue sources. There are other requests from outside agencies that are not part of this budget either. But if you look at this page, on page 8, there are revenues in the general fund of almost $78 million and expenditures of also 78 and then 78,144. One of the things that we look at every year when we set up our budget is we want to make sure we have enough reserves in the fund, and our practice for many years has been to keep at least a 15% reserve. Right now, based on the budget that we're presenting here tonight to you, it's a little over 15%, 15.32%. Then as we go along, there's other pages here. The general fund, for instance, on the next page, there's a history of revenues and expenses. We're going back to the year 2000 all the way to 2007, and you can see the growth that has occurred throughout the years, not only in the revenue side, but on the expense side. For instance, in 2000, the revenues were 47 million in the general fund. Now we're up to 75 million. Expenditures were at 42. We're now up to almost 75.6 million. As we go along on page 11, this gives you a detail of all the revenue sources for the city. The main one, obviously, being for the general fund is sales tax, followed by property taxes, and gives you all the details, which I'm not going to go into, but you can certainly take time, just go over it. And page 15, again, on column J, you'll see that the revenues are 77,865,000 because it includes transfers. This schedule includes transfers coming in from the bridge fund of 2.6 million, and then motor vehicle. As you know, the motor vehicle operation, some of the duties, some of the work that was being paid from motor vehicle expenditures are now being expensed by the general fund because we did transfer some of the duties that we had in motor vehicle parking system to municipal court. So therefore, we have excess funds that we can transfer back into the general fund. Page 16, 17, all the way through page 20 in the general fund, all the way 21, shows all the departments, all the, not line items, but just summaries of all the expenses in the general fund that totaled 78,144,000. As we go along on page 22, this is the Convention and Tourism Fund. Convention and Tourism Fund, the majority of the funds in this fund are the hotel motel tax. As you can see on page 22, column U and column W on line 15, we see an increase as far as revenues in the hotel industry by about 80, in the hotel tax, about $85,000. The Convention and Visitors Bureau has requested $100,000 more. Unfortunately, we cannot fund the $100,000, but we went ahead and settled for 50. If you can see on line 32, on column U and column W, it's from we're looking at the amount is from $750,000 to $800,000. All the other agencies remain funded the same that they were in fiscal year 2006.
I was going to suggest that we keep an eye on the hotel motel taxes. We know that we've got a lot more rooms now than we've had in the past. So that in the event that there is an increase, maybe we may be able to make an amendment on that additional funds, assuming that the hotel motel taxes show a little bit larger increase than what you've got budgeted. Considering the number of rooms, hopefully that'll bear out. But if not, I think that's a good, fair compromise.
Okay.
Tito, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, you said based on projections that there won't be any increase for any other departments except, could you repeat what you just said? I'm sorry.
There are, last week, remember I presented this to you last week?
Right.
All the requests that have been requested
Hold on,
by,
Pete, I just thought of something. You know, we're gonna be voting on the the camera issue later on. And let's find out what additional cost it would be to get a wireless mic to attach to who's ever speaking. That way, we always run into this problem when somebody steps away from the mic and they want to, not that you're in trouble, Pete, I'm just,
okay.
I think we have one, Mayor, we just need to make it up.
we need to start using that.
I try to use the mic.
Yeah, I know, you can't move very much, so.
No, okay. But Commissioner,
My question, Pete, was that when you had said that everybody's going to stay the same, that means no other departments are going to get any increase
oh,
whatsoever?
no.
That's not- Okay.
No, I was referring to the outside agencies,
Okay.
Commissioner Camarillo. The museums, for instance, they're being funded at the same level that they were being funded in 2006, with the exception of the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Right.
They're going from 750 to 800,000.
Okay.
That's what I meant, but as far as,
Yeah, that was my-
we went over this last week, there's a lot of requests, unfortunately, we can't fund.
Thank you, Pete.
And then we go along on page 26, 27, those are the community development block grants. This is you've already seen these numbers, we've already gone through them, I'm not, through public hearings with CDBG. Those are the allocations, those are the receipts that are planned for community development, all the way to page 28. Then the non-bonded debt, very little activity there. The other one is debt service on page 31. I don't know if you can see page 31 at the very bottom, but of that schedule. If you look at debt service, we're looking at on page, I guess 32. If you look at the requirements on our debt requirements on page 32, it's gone down just a little bit. You recall, Hinojosa and Estrada Hinojosa made a present to you last year because we didn't want to raise. They went ahead and restructured some of our debt, so therefore we don't see much of an increase this coming year. The increase is coming up in 2008.
How much? Do you remember?
I'm sorry?
How much?
Do you remember what kind of an increase?
I have I just didn't bring my schedules with me, but I can
I think
certainly,
you had told me 14, you think?
right now it's 14.
Where are you?
But I thought you were asking me what's the growth for the other year. I don't.
Well, you're saying that we're going to have a larger increase next year.
Yes, 2008.
Oh, 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
We're at 14 this year, 15 for this coming year for '07.
No, you look on that page, at the very, on column S, on page
32.
32.
Actually, we're going down 13,000?
Very, very, very little. Yes, it's almost the same. Now, I do have a schedule, which I didn't bring with me, of all the years of all our debt that will be coming due. I just didn't bring it with me.
I know 13,000 sounds like an insignificant amount, but that doesn't in any way affect our ratings or anything like that on
No,
the
sir.
on debt service
No, sir.
bonds?
No, sir. Our ratings continue to be fairly, I guess, strong from all our rating agencies. As a matter of fact, last year, one rating agency said that if we continue in the path that we have financially, and this came from them, I didn't even bring it up, this was through a conference call, they said, we will probably consider upgrading you.
I was going to say, it's been a year. Might we be in a position to look into that?
Yes, Standard & Poor's is the one that
That made that comment?
was either Standard & Poor's or Fitch. No, it was Standard & Poor's.
Because
He said that they've liked the way the city has dealt with their finances. They like our strong fund balances. They like the management. There's a lot of strong points that they have made, and if we can continue at the same pace, they said that we will probably get another upgrade by that. Remember, we're rated by 3 agencies,
Right.
and I'm just speaking of one. Landfill, on page 35, it's almost running even, neck and neck, between revenues and expenses. By the way, all this, the funds that we present to you, sometimes we show a little bit of a deficit, but in reality, once we have the year ends, we always have a little bit more than when we show, so don't be too alarmed if you
Is
see a
that
little...
part of the lease that you like to keep on the commission, Pete?
Right. Okay.
Steve, I'm sorry, before you go, one quick question.
What page are you on, Commissioner?
35?
Okay.
Where does the recycling center fit into all this? Is that just squeezed in under Public Works? Is that under any of this?
It's under public works in the general fund.
Do you know what that expenditure is just on that? I'm sorry to just throw that out there to you.
I'd say it's around 680, 670, 70,000, I believe.
Expenditure.
Yes.
That sound right?
And in anything in revenue, would that bring anything in revenue?
BFI runs that operation for us. No, I don't see any revenue, just the expense that we...
Yeah, we have a direct payment to BFI to run the recycling center at the
But
downtown.
I can go ahead and look at that page for you and tell you exactly how much it is. You can give me a little minute here.
Actually, yeah, you did.
On page 18, Commissioner Committee, on page 18. I said 70, it's 66,000.
6.6? Okay. No, and the only reason why I bring it up is, looking at the recycling and what we do in Brownsville, keep, with the beautification and the organization we're involved in, Keep Texas Beautiful, and seeing what other communities do with recycling and how that generates some revenues, but also how it lowers the landfill expense of some landfills in Texas. That's been a concern of mine, what it brings in, what's the cost, that sort of thing. So that's the only reason why I asked you. Thanks.
By the way, the landfill is a revenue maker for us.
Right.
Page 38, this is the bridge fund. We have increased the revenues, and then, of course, all this money that comes in from the bridge fund goes back into the general fund. Page 39, for instance, we probably have a little surplus in that fund at the end of the year. I didn't change that. It should be 2007 instead of 2004. On page 39, I need to change it to 2007, and 2007 on top. Then motor vehicle is on page 40 and so forth. The transit system on page 43, pretty consistent from 2006 versus 2007. Of course, on the operating assistance grant for Buzz, running the operations at Buzz, we get 50% of the loss. The federal government pays that to us. And then page 45, it's the Golf Center, all the way up to page 47. This budget will be filed at the City Secretary's office this coming Friday. It will be there for 30 days for public inspection. And then after the 30th day, that's when we come to you for requesting for you to approve it. Obviously between now and then, changes can be made to the budget and until it gets finalized in September. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions? Pete, let's make note of a couple of things that we need to be aware of. We still have a pending issue with the fire department because we do not have a contract with them. That'll be an additional expense.
Yes, sir.
We've got a COLA issue,
COLA
cost
issue.
of living.
We also have the museum, public
have the brand
safety,
new- yeah.
public safety museum that they've requested funding. And this is the public safety museum next to the,
Police
adjacent to the police department, that is not being operated at this
What
moment.
about the utilities to the Fine Arts Museum that's gonna open up? Is that,
That's pending matters that we have not even
okay?
considered. We got some issues at the main library as well.
As I understand, we're looking at at some renovation and remodeling.
Right.
And repair of some major
Well,
plumbing issues.
I mentioned those things, and I'm sure there are other ones that escape me at this moment, that in order for the citizens to continue, for the city to continue to provide this level of services that we've done in the past, there's a cost, there's always an increase, be it in maintenance costs. Our utilities, how much did they go up, Charlie? 36%?
30% so far.
30% over the last year, same as everybody else, and that's eaten into our surplus, our transfer
Right.
from PUB,
Right.
because we do not receive free utility. That's taken out of our transfer. Cost of gas, obviously, in operating our fleets, has affected our budget, the bottom dollar. And, but we are aware that our property values have increased. Everybody probably saw that, or majority of the people saw that. I do want to point out that a year ago, or was it 2 years ago, when we froze, the property values for those individuals that are 65 and
That's
older.
correct, Mayor. I'm glad you brought that up. We're probably going to lose around $110,000, $112,000 just in that area, because right now, if you're over 65, way back in 2004, whatever the value was on your property, assuming that you did not have any improvements to that property, the tax levy remains the same. So that means that all these people that are over 65 are going to see, if you reduce the tax rate to 65 cents, they're going to see a reduction in their levy. They will, because assuming that it's the same, no improvements were made to the property. Obviously, you add several square footage, your property is not going to be the same, but there are probably a lot of citizens over 65 that have, because of your approval in 2004, their levies will be frozen.
And these are some of the issues that we want to point out to the public, even though they're not here with us this evening. The other thing that's important, we realize, and I've heard comments about the appraisal issues with regards to this year. Clearly, our appraisal for the property value of the city's valuation went up. I think you pointed out
15%.
But in spite of that, I think that if there's a time that we might be able to do this with regards to providing the citizens some kind of tax relief, we're in a position to do it at this time. I understand, Pete, that in the departments, especially those that have not had a lot of growth lately, that they'd like to keep it at the same rate because that would mean a lot more additional money to the city coffers. But I think it's incumbent that if we're in a position to try to lower taxes for the first time in a long, long time, that I think we need to do that, because a lot of people were hit with the appraisals. I also want to point out that the city of Brownsville has nothing at all to do with the appraisal process. We don't go out and evaluate people's homes or commercial buildings or anything of that nature. That is done by the appraisal district. That is their responsibility. Obviously, what they do impacts our ability or our basis for determining our tax rate and our budgets and what have you, but we do need to point out those things. I think that this commission has held the line with regards to the last several years on our tax rate, and I think that this year we're in a position to go ahead and lower it. Even if it's only a couple of cents, 3 cents, I think that goes a long ways to showing the citizens that we are concerned about the impact that the appraisals, that the tax bills that we send every year has on them. And hopefully, it'll also spur additional development when you take into account our fund balance, the way we've been operating our city finances over the last 3 years, 4 years. I think that this is a good sign for business also. And we want the growth to continue, not to slow down. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments.
My only concern with this is you've held conservative for many years, well, at least 3 years that I've been here. And although I am in agreement with the mayor that we do need, you know, with the rising costs in our properties, I tend to be a little bit more conservative as to, my question to you is this: by lowering 3 cents, what does that reduce the amount by? In other words, would you be able to give me, if we go down 1 cent, this will affect me in this way. If we go down 2 cents, this will affect in such a way. You know, with the rising gas price right now, you know, property gas price, you know, we just got hit by a police contract. We're about to get hit by a fireman contract. And yet, we've got people at Public Works. We've got people in our offices that are going to need that money maybe in some sort of a form of a pay increase, because it's getting tighter and it's getting a lot more harder to get to work with these rising gas prices. You know, are we going to have to start going to public transportation? You know, do we have to talk to Norma, get a new program going where we can work something out with the citizenship yet not be losing out on the gas price to run the buses? You know, as a community, what do we need, what steps do we need to take? Because the gas prices, according to what I saw in the news today, are only going to go up higher. And, you know, yes, we need to help our citizens, but at the same time, we have a city to run. You know, and I just, you know, you tell us, you know, that it's safe for the moment being to go down to 65 cents. But, you know, what is it that we need to look at, you know, realistically, so that we don't, you know, shoot ourselves in the foot?
A penny generates about 440,000, Commissioner. So you multiply that times 3, it's a substantial amount.
$1.3 million.
Yeah. And the numbers showed that even by going down, there's still,
We generate,
our budget is going to generate additional funds this year.
yes.
I wanted to go lower, but
Well, we certainly don't
yeah.
I don't think the city manager also recommends for us to,
Recommended we stay at 68.
right?
Well, the goal, just like this past year, we had more than expected growth, which helped our finances, and we want to continue that type of an environment where there's investment and there's growth, and not try to slow it down in any shape or form. So.
And I know 3 cents might seem, you know, it does help. It helps when you're going to return it to the citizen. But, you know, I had to go reverting back to it. But with the rise in gas prices and all that, I foresee, you know, the economy being hurt, and the money that's being generated maybe possibly not coming in as strong as it is because, you know, transportation and because of the gas.
All right, this is a public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close by Commissioner Arroyo, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Pete. Item 5.
Item 5, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2006-1100.38, an ordinance amending the city code by updating the procedures for heritage-related Class L permits and Class A permits dealing with related matters, including $2,000 penalties.
Chavito,
Good
welcome.
evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. My name is Joe Gavito. I'm the Heritage Officer for the City of Brownsville. The amendments that I brought to you this evening are cleanup work for Class L and Class A permits. The main change in the ordinance is to lift the requirement that we publish it in the newspaper before we have a public hearing. The requirement would read much like your own meeting, where all we would have to do in the future is post it here at City Hall and at Market Square. The cost saving for that would be anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 annually. And we thought after 18 years, this deserved to be looked at and changed.
Is the Brownsville Herald aware of this?
He is now.
Well, this is a public hearing. Hey, Jeff, would you like to step forward and object to this? All right.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Arroyo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by
Second.
Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Arroyo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 6.
Item number 6, consideration and action to encumber $150,000 at the end of fiscal year 2006, which will result in the carryover of $150,000 from fiscal year 2006 to fiscal year 2007 for the purchase of an automated camera system that will be used at the City Hall Commission chambers to broadcast live City Commission meetings from Channel 12.
Mayor, members of the City Commission, it seems from the information I get is that we won't be able to, remember last week you allocated or you appropriated these funds for the camera, or we will not be able to spend this money this fiscal year, so we're asking you to authorize us to carry those funds to next year. What I've been told is that this will not happen until 4 months from now, so it'll go into 2007 fiscal year.
We'll spend the money in the next year.
Yes, we recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Arroyo, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Don't forget about that mic issue. Next item.
Item 7, consideration and action to acknowledge the Cameron Appraisal District Chief Appraisal's certification of the City of Brownsville's 2006 tax roll.
I don't know, Mayor, members of the City Commission, we're going to pass out some revisions to it, very minor. Just for the record.
Do you have a new one?
Charlie.
Yeah, we didn't get this final revision until July 31st, so the information that you had in your packet was slightly different. But the total, if you look on page, and I don't have a page, but it's the second page, and I know I have the wrong years, but the increase in the tax roll is 15.8%. And all we're doing in this item is for you to acknowledge the chief appraiser certification for the tax roll for the City of Brownsville. That's all this is.
All right.
Move to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge by Commissioner Longoria,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Item 8, consideration and action to acknowledge the Finance Director's certification of the estimated ad valorem tax collection rate for the tax year 2006 and the excess debt tax collections for tax year 2004.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this is just certifying that we did have an excess of collections this year of $345,056. This number is part of the calculation that we'll discuss with you on the next item. Just certifying that this is the excess, and the other is that we're going to be collecting 100% next year.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Camarillo. I'm sorry, motion to acknowledge.
Acknowledge, yes.
Commissioner. By Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Arroyo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item.
Item number 9, consideration and action to acknowledge the Finance Director's calculation of the city's effective and rollback ad valorem tax rates for tax year 2006 or fiscal year 2007.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this item in your packet, you have the worksheet. I'm not going to go into the worksheet. I will cover the information that's in the worksheet through a PowerPoint presentation. Second page, this shows what we just went over right now, that this were the excess collections between June 1st of 2005 all the way through July of 2006. We had excess of $345,000. on page 4, what is the effective rate? The effective rate is a rate that raises the same tax as last year from property taxable in both years. The effective rate enables the public to evaluate the relationship between the taxes for the preceding year and current taxes that a proposed tax rate would produce if applied to the same properties tax in both years. And that's where we come up with the effective rate. On the next schedule, this is how we arrived at the effective rate of 60 cents, 60.2798 cents. And really just you take the adjusted 2005 tax levy by the adjusted taxable values, and that's you come up with the tax rate of 60.2798.7. And if you look at at that schedule, for instance, the adjusted taxes for 2006 were 25,654,509. Well, the question is, what is the tax rate that you're going to calculate that will generate the same amount of taxes on the same properties that are in existence this year? And going through that formula, you'll see at the very bottom that 60 cents, 60.27.987 is the tax rate that will generate the same levy as last year, which is 25,654,509. So if you take the 60.27.987 times the 4,255,899,581, that's the amount you're going to get. So we have to come up with an effective rate, and that's what this calculation is about. Next. The rollback rate has two components. That's the M&O, which is the maintenance and operation, and the maintenance and operation is your general fund operations, your day-to-day operations, and of course you also have your debt service rate. That's to pay your long-term debt or your bonds. Next, the M&O portion of the rollback tax rate is the tax rate that would be needed to raise 8% more operating funds than the city levy in the preceding year. The law allows us to go 8% above the M&O. There is no limit on the debt service. As it's written there, the debt rate portion is the tax rate that will be needed to pay the city's debt payments in the coming year. This portion of the calculation does not depend on the prior year's debt taxes at all. It simply considers what the city will actually need for the current year. The portion of the overall rate used to retire debt may rise as high as necessary without triggering the threat of a rollback. The M&O portion, however, may only rise 8%. And the next calculation shows you the M&O rate. The M&O portion of the rollback rate is 49 cents, 49.5681 based on those calculations. And then on the debt service, the M&O rate is 31.8088. So the total M&O rate is 81.3769. This is the rate before the sales tax adjustment. If you recall, well, some of us recall way back in 1991, there was an election whereby the citizens were given the choice of either, in other words, we asked them to give us an additional half-cent sales tax with the understanding that we would reduce the tax rate by the amount of money that we would generate from the sales tax. So that's what, if you look on the last page, page 11, yeah, you start out with a huge rollback rate of 81.3769. Well, from that rate, 81.3769, you have to reduce it by the amount that you calculated from sales tax, which is 1635.32. So we can actually tell our citizens that because of that election in 1991, we are generating sales tax, but because we are generating this sales tax, we are reducing your tax rate by 1635.32 cents. So that was a good deal for the voters, because again, sales tax, not all of the sales tax comes from the citizens there, a lot of them comes from outside. So then you have, at the end you have what we call the adjusted rollback rate, which is 65 $0.0236. And that's the calculation.
I'll
And
move
this is
to
just-
acknowledge.
Okay.
Move to acknowledge by Commissioner Arroyo,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Any public comment?
No, sir, there aren't.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for attending this meeting. Pete, thank you for your hard work on this. Meeting is adjourned.